What's going on, guys? Nick Dark here. This is going to be another full chart breakdown video. This time we'll be on NZDUSD. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. First thing we want to do is start establishing some significant support and resistance levels and apply top-down analysis. So we're here on the monthly chart, and we're just going to start breaking down some levels, which levels are the most significant, and kind of just highlight it that way. So first thing I want to do, get rid of these MAs so we don't get confused. We're just looking at price action right now. Go to the line chart, and we're going to find areas where price action has reacted multiple times. That kind of holds significance. So I like this zone here already, kind of right at 75 flat. Let's label it first and then kind of check our work. Okay, so it's a monthly zone. So I'm choosing this area because I could see a lot of reaction happening, especially here. Held the support significantly 3 times, came back through, bit of an overlap, but that's okay because these are more so zones. We're not expecting price action to stop exactly on the pip, but more so react in this area where we can expect some orders to be stepping in, some areas to be holding a support or resistance. So as you can see here, it was support, right? Had a bit of an overlap as it transitioned to the downside, came back up, retested as resistance, and held pretty well. So I like this level. It's a good level. It's also a nice psychological level. I'll always round off my higher time frame support and resistance. Let's go back to the line chart, and we got to find one more area. One more significant area. And this looks like it could be right here, 685. That looks pretty good to me. Again, double check your work always. With support here, resistance here, then support again 3 more times, broke through, tested as resistance, and then continue down. So this is a pretty good spot for these 2 levels. About 600 pips spread, not bad. So we can go back to the line chart, get a price range of the distance between these 2. Okay, just about 650 pips. And what I'm going to do is mark levels above and below as monthlies. So about 650 pips, 0.815 right there. That's the next level, monthly, and then again to the downside. Let's see if this level makes sense. 0.62 monthly again. All right, so double check our work once more. Held as support here a couple times, here again, here a little bit, even though it did blow through. And then this level was resistance, a couple levels of support as well. So let's see, go back to the line chart once again. I want to do one more monthly zone to the downside because this is a bearish trend. So this is a very relevant area down here. Okay, so good. This is what I wanted to see. Right at 0.555 monthly. Okay, so this is what I wanted to see, and I mean this reaction here. I wanted to see this level hit and this level hit. So let's go back to the candlestick chart and I'll show you what I mean. So this was resistance, tested as support here, came down, acted as support, general area where there was a lot of reaction. Okay, so this is a good level. All right, so that's good. That's enough for the monthlies. Next thing we want to do is split these levels, identify the weekly levels between them. So this is how we'll do that. Pretty much just going to half these zones, and that's how we're going to find our weekly. Same thing, we're going to kind of round these off. Looking like 0.7825. Now this is the weekly. Okay, that looks pretty good. Resistance, support, resistance here again. So that's a pretty good level. Let's go ahead and do this for the next one. Let's see, let's see if this is going to make sense. 0.72. Yeah, that looks pretty good, actually. I like that. All right, so that'll be the weekly. So again, I'm just rounding off. I'm more so highlighting the center of an area where we can expect a lot of reaction. So this line here, a lot of expected reaction here. It doesn't have to stop to the pip, but we know this is a level where we've seen price action react many times. Okay, especially on this monthly, so you know it's a significant move. Highlight this next zone. 0.625 weekly. Looks pretty good. almost support here, here as well again. Okay, next zone, and our final zone. So right about here, 0.575 weekly. All right, cool. So now we've got these levels, all highlighted. So now what I want to do is kind of just highlight the most significant area here for me. So this was support, then it clearly broke and retested. So that's exactly what this is the most important zone. I want to see that this is broken, retested. I just want to highlight that, bring it to my attention. This is clearly bearish. Let's go back to blue. And then we also want to look for patterns. Do we see any patterns forming? There is a bit of a flag pattern here. Let me show you. Bit of a flag pattern there. And here. I'm sorry, I actually think this is a little steeper. In 1 second. It would have been more so like this. And like this. Basically like that. A nice flag pattern, so it pushed lower. Market took a breather, it pulled back, retraced to a significant zone this monthly. Also fib levels in there as well. Let's just do it for good measure. 50% fib level, then continue down. Nice transition to the downside. You got a good lower high. Finally broke support again around this second monthly zone. Retested and then he dropped again. So right now, so that was nice to see. Got a nice flag pattern out of this. Another important zone where current price action is right here, this monthly zone. So pretty much same thing that we saw here. Break of support, broke, tested resistance, just on a smaller scale. So this is probably more of a weekly transition, whereas this is a monthly transition. Okay, so I also want to just highlight the fact that this is like a descending expanding pattern. Let's make this black. Let's just highlight it and see if this makes sense. Okay, that is a crazy pattern. I don't like that wick. So I'm going to drop time frames and assume this is a weekly pattern more so. So we'll reanalyze once we drop down. But I just do once look back on the monthly here. It looks pretty good. Definitely bearish as hell. We'll throw this monthly trend line in for good measure. Because you always can. Again, I don't live and die by trend lines. More so zones. But, this is a good... so you can just see it's kind of breaking now. But again, this is why I don't live by zones, because if this trend line's breaking, like this could be turning bullish, but really it needs to prove a lot. It needs to get back above this monthly to go bullish. So I'm gonna delete that. Sometimes it's there as guidance, just kind of highlighting the trend. But again, you don't live and die by trend lines. All right, so let's drop to the weekly. All right, so basically all that we're looking for here is to highlight channels, trends, and patterns. So right, there's a bit of ranging here. Here's that transition. It broke support, tested as resistance. Gave us a nice little ascending triangle pattern on resistance here. It's basically like this. You can see it, right? Higher lows all in there. Key resistance here, and then it broke the pattern and continued down. So a little pattern there. Okay, so we've already seen a flag. We've already seen a wedge, a triangle. I mean, and now here's that. Here is again that expanding type pattern, right? Something like this. Something like this, right? So the volume's increasing as this pattern is developing, right? So technically, as we get into this area here, this entire zone is hot. Like we're expecting some sort of reaction here. Anywhere up to this monthly, this whole zone is pretty hot, okay? Price action can easily pull up in this zone and then reverse. This is also more of a supply zone right here. If you just highlight this wick here, so this is a better zone, supply zone. Then this monthly is key resistance. Okay, so we could see some sort of reaction here. So ideally, continuing with the trend, kind of forecasting a little bit here where we're expecting a reversal. You could enter here. You could enter and look to target the downside, but we're gonna drop time frames and kind of see more so. What's going on. So real quick, also, if we do see a reversal here, my first target is going to be this monthly. This is a key area. I'm just going to highlight this here, this monthly zone. This was a key area where we saw a lot of price action react on both the bullish side and bearish side. So this was support, first test, established support, right? This monthly zone came back down, rejected, monthly support, then finally it broke through, tested as resistance a couple times, and then finally broke through again. So this would be our first target, and then obviously secondary would be our next monthly down at the bottom. But for now, I'm just going to leave this highlighted because this is our next target if we do see a reversal here. So we're still in the weekly. We got a little more ways to go, so let's drop to the daily. And again, same thing, we're looking for patterns, transitions, and just anything that's going to show us structure, clear price action setups, and so on. Okay, so here, yeah, again, so it's just the volume is just picking up dramatically. This was Corona, actually, this huge drop off in March. Then it came back up, nice bullish rally. So this whole thing here, this is a huge 4-hour bullish trend. This essentially is just a giant retracement, humongous retracement back up to this supply zone, maybe even higher, but we'll see. So I also want to just highlight the fact this is just an ascending channel there. This was not really, this is more or less a descending, let's see if it is, descending triangle. Yeah, thereabouts, pretty much, something like that. More lower time frame stuff. Then it just broke out on some good price action. Nice bullish variation there. You could have entered on that or something, but that'd be a lower time frame trade. So for now, let's just kind of analyze this a little bit further. I want to fib this. This is not a 38.2, so structure is not formed in the sense that if this 4-hour bullish trend is going to continue, it hasn't formed structure yet. Okay, but if you do the flip side, this daily bearish trend, we're going to fib from the high to the low. Yes, we're just going to consider Corona in this spike, or in this instance, the spike to the downside. We're just going to measure it because this retracement is still very real. Even though this Corona thing was heavily news based, this retracement is not. This is good price action, good market movement. So we're going to measure this whole stretch here. Okay, and we're almost back up at 100% retracement. So guys, it's really gonna come down to this zone and how price action reacts. But here I'll give you one example. Let's clear it up a little bit more of what we'll be looking for to enter on. Okay, so essentially you want to see something like this. It's actually forming very similarly. We're just going to draw this in. Okay, so this is like a nice head and shoulders pattern here. This would technically be the left shoulder. Right now we're establishing the head. We would be, hypothetically. If you saw that rejection off the supply zone, off this trend line, then we saw price action come back down. You're essentially looking for any sort of neckline break and retest. So let's say that was the right shoulder. You're looking for a break, retest, entry would be over here somewhere. Somewhere in here. And then naturally this would be your target, right? Your target towards the monthly. Protect yourself on this right shoulder. So this is what the trade would look like. So you got the retest there. Stop loss is above the right shoulder, targeting down towards the monthly. 300 pips, roughly risking a little over 100, maybe about 100. So about 3-1 risk reward if you entered right here. Great trade. Just looking at this chart, it's if we saw a reversal here, the likelihood of it hitting this monthly is very, very high. So that's a good trade setup potentially. Let's go to the 4-hour again. All right, go to the 4-hour and kind of see. So like it's very overextended, guys. We can clear this up now. Very overextended. We need to wait essentially because a pullback is imminent. The 4-hour retracement is imminent. Just for this giant trend, it needs to form structure. So regardless, it's going to pull back at the supply zone or at this monthly. We'll see. We're just going to have to wait on this one. But essentially, the example I showed you, we were waiting for some sort of transition. So we're quite a ways out. Again, this is only the 4-hour, and we need to see a lot to develop. So probably next week on this pair, this one's going to have to take a couple days to really play out, I think. And then we'll play it from there. But yeah, so this was a nice, so as we're dropping time frames, we got to wait, obviously. This is more so in the middle of a 4-hour daily move, waiting to decide, waiting for some higher time frame confirmation before we make a move. But we can still analyze. So we're on the 4-hour here. We're just going to review a little bit. This weekly zone is clearly still very accurate. As we can see, we saw a lot of rejection here as resistance, broke through, tested as support, and kind of just continued higher. So this is a very good zone. We also, kind of paired that with this, descending triangle pattern, which happened at the top of a bullish rally. So this was just market consolidation. This was the market taking a breather. It establishes clear support in here. So this basically said, you know, we've made this push, and the sellers aren't strong enough to pull us out of this zone to kind of change trend here. Instead, you know, the bulls are still very much in the market, saying this is still, you know, very much bullish, very much with this trend, and you know, more buying pressure, you know, could step in, and it did over here as we saw this lower time frame transition here. So this was like a 1 hour lower high, right? This is a 4 hour lower high, 1 hour lower high, and then it finally transitioned and gave us our first higher low. So right here. Right? So you saw this break, retested, and then look, you could have been a little early and entered on this engulfing if you really had good confidence in this. That's a signal right there. Or you could have just waited until the pattern actually broke. We got this little doji. That next candle I wouldn't have entered on because there's a lot of exhaustion, but this one I would have. This clearly bullish candle. Could have entered on that. Okay? So either of these, this is the more conservative, this is the more aggressive because it's still in the pattern, it hasn't broken. But this would be a clear entry. Broke the pattern, continuing higher, and then we would have just managed. There's basically no drawdown on this whatsoever. And you would have just managed accordingly. So there's also a little bit of a descending triangle here, looks like. Right, the trend line actually played into effect on this one. I'll show you in a second. Let's get rid of that. We'll do this. Okay, so again, descending triangle. It's literally this exact pattern on a lower time frame. So this is more of a 1 hour pattern. This is more of a 4 hour pattern. Just by the size of it, it's clear to see. And what happened? It did exactly what, you know, happened here. We had clear support right at the weekly. You know, got our final push, third push to the downside. Then we started getting higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low. So you could have entered on again. I actually don't know if I would have entered on this one because look, there's a transition here. I just noticed it. So right here. Okay, this is where I would have entered. Right here. Boom. On that engulfing, closing outside the pattern or on the retest. So there's engulfing, breaking the pattern, pushes up, comes right back, tests the trend line and broken structure, and then continues higher with an engulfing. So that would have been your entry as well. Okay, so either of these. And it's exactly the same. Literally. Look where the entries are. Pretty much on the break. Again, after a transition. On the break, after a transition. Same here. On a breakout, after the transition. Both descending triangles at the top of a bullish rally. 1 hour, 4 hour. Okay, so those are good trade opportunities there. So, yeah, I just want to give you guys a little bit extra because there's not really much going on. I can't drop time frames. We're not really close to an entry on NZ here. This is going to be kind of a waiting game. But, you know, we're in the supply zone. We're damn close, waiting for some sort of higher time frame confirmation to give us an idea of what's going to happen here. But overall, looking bearish. And, you know, keep an eye out on those analyses in our Discord, guys. All right, so this has been NZDUSD Full Chart Breakdown, and I'll see you in the next one.